The Royals, like all teams, are participating in the Major League Draft, a 3-day affair that wraps up today. They made news with their first-round selection, left-handed pitcher Frank Mozzicato from a Connecticut high school. We discussed the selection and the draft in general with beat writer Lynn Worthy and columnist Vahe Gregorian and Sam Mellinger. It is Tuesday, July 13th. I'm Blair Kirchhoff, and this is SportsBeat KC, the Star's daily sports podcast. This show started as a SportsBeat Live. We also discussed the Royals selecting local high school products with their second and fourth selections, and we get into Salvador Perez's terrific performance at the Home Run Derby on Monday and why Royals fans were upset with the ESPN coverage. Let's get started talking Royals. Welcome to SportsBeat Live, our weekly chat session about the Kansas City Royals with the people who know them best and with you. Please send us your questions and comments, and we'll get to as many of them as we can. Hey, before we introduce this crew, let's shout out to our sponsor, the University of Kansas Health System. You'll be hearing from them later in the show. You'll also be hearing from Frank Mozzicato later in the show as well. We'll tell you who he is after we tell you who these guys are. Sam Mellinger is here.
What's up, guys?
Vahe Gregorian and Lynn Worthy also here today. How you guys doing? Everybody good?
Great.
I'm fine. I'm really fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Play ball.
Play ball. We're off to a flying start here. So it wasn't just draft day. It is draft day, right? It's the third of 3 days of the Major League Baseball draft, and we are 10 selections have been made. There are 10 more to go today. First round on Sunday. Rounds 2 through 10 on Monday, and 11 through 20 today. So the Royals, like all Major League Baseball teams, have had 10 selections.
Actually, 11. There was a competitive balance one in there, too.
Thank you very much, Lynn. That's why he's here. That is why Lynn is here, to correct me, which is why he sits next to me, because he often has to. So anyway, a lot of picks on the board. It used to be 50, right? Now we're down to, it was 5 last year because of the pandemic. 40 before then, 50 back in the day, but now it's 20. Is it gonna stay at 20? Do we know, or?
I think it's still up in the air because I think, especially with next year, there's going to be a new collective bargaining agreement and everything. So I just assume that everything's up in the air going into next year. But I think coming out of the pandemic and everything, you knew it was going to be reduced, not as much as last year, but it was somewhat reduced. And then I think it's a play by ear going forward. I
wonder how many rounds baseball has decided that they only need 20 rounds to fill minor league teams, right? That's the thing. The number of minor league teams have been reduced, obviously, to 4. You don't have to stock 7 or 8 teams anymore, but it just didn't seem like 20 is enough. But what do I know? So,
Blair, just the mention of the 50, it just makes me think of this, and I don't know this answer, but maybe you guys do. It's Gerard Dyson's certainly the last of the 50th picks. Is he the first and only of the 50th picks that had
Piazza was
the famous
63rd round pick.
The famous latest round pick of all time.
Yeah, it was a family favor or something, right? Wasn't it?
Right.
Sort of family friend?
Exactly. A family friend who turned out to be one of the best hitting catchers of all time.
I'd forgotten that if I ever knew it. That's wild.
But Dyson certainly, with his draft position, provided more than could be expected from that. But that was, remember, Art Stewart used to tell us about Dyson that, when you get that low, let's just look for a quality in a player that, in Dyson's case, speed, athleticism, and then we'll help him develop his baseball skills. And the Royals did just that, and he has certainly outperformed his draft selection spot. So the Royals take with their first round pick, number 7 overall, as we mentioned, Frank Mozzicato, high school pitcher, lefty from East Catholic High in Connecticut. Interesting pick, interesting selection. He was not on anyone's mock draft that I saw. I don't think he was in the first round of anybody's mock draft that I saw. But mock drafts, take them for what they are, which is just guesswork, dart throwing, whatnot. I'll give you some numbers on him, and then we'll hear from Frank and then we'll hear from Frank after that, and we'll talk about him. So he was Baseball America's number 42 prospect, MLB.com's number 39 prospect, a fastball that measures consistently 91 to 93. He had big strikeout numbers, 135 Ks and 55 innings pitched. I think I got this from your story, Lynn. Averaged 21.7 Ks per 9 inning in high school, threw 4 consecutive no-hitters this year, and was just a lanky lefty. So let's do this. Let's hear from Frank right now, Frank Mozzicato, and then let's come back and talk about it.
I would definitely say I improved, most of my fastball. I was able to jump velocity 5, 6 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And just become, even sharper with, all my pitches, my mechanics staying nice and fluid, and, maintaining velocity and stuff like that in my command. So I definitely feel like everything, attributed to this big jump.
You're jumping into a whole new world here, but it's an exciting world and one where you can kind of be a sponge and learn from, the organization that you're a part of. What are you excited about and eager to kind of start learning and developing at the next level?
I'm just excited to get better every day and become a better, player, but a better person as well. And, maturing into myself even more and, really, dig down and become a better pitcher, learn more about it, learn more about myself as well. Go win a World Series. That's the goal.
Okay. I like that as a goal. Win a World Series. That works. So I'm sorry. I've made a vow to stop sighing. You know what I've noticed? I don't sigh as much during Chiefs SportsBeat lives.
Used to.
The sigh has become a signature move of yours.
Yeah.
At least ever since Lynn pointed it out, you can't get away from it.
My go-to. Whenever I need to talk about something that needs an explanation.
Which is often.
Yeah. When we talk Royals. So, look, he's Frank Mozzicato. Great numbers, right? Terrific senior year in high school, and it was a little sample size there. It just seems like eager to learn, good guy, all that stuff. But Sam, let's start with you on this. Were you surprised, and if so, why? And let's just talk about why the Royals went with this pick instead of kind of contrary to their recent trend.
I was shocked, and I don't get shocked by a lot in sports because you never know what can happen. But I thought Jordan Lawler made a lot of sense, so he goes at 6 to Arizona, right? But then Rocker just fit. Those two guys to me fit what the Royals have shown themselves to value in recent years. And so I was really surprised that they didn't take Rocker. Now, the strategy behind it, I know that the Royals are getting crushed for this in a lot of places, but I get signing Mozzicato for whatever it's going to be, $3 million, I don't know, for way below slot instead of Rocker for over slot, and then you can spread it around later. That strategy to me actually makes sense. I know the Royals are getting crushed for that. What I don't like about the pick is just a high school pitcher. I just think if you go back in the history of high school pitchers taking that high, it's not very good. I get what they're saying. He's athletic, pitchability, which is, sort of jargon for athletic, can overcome obstacles that are inevitable in this path to pro ball or to the major leagues. I get all that, but just the history of high school pitchers it just shows that is a very risky, even on the scale of a baseball draft. Those guys are really, really hard to predict. That's the part of it that kind of, especially, raises the eyebrow for me.
I guess I'd only say, it's been a tough decade or so for first-round picks with the Royals. I mean, they've had some success, and some things not come to fruition yet. Some guys traded, but if this does sort of represent a little difference in the way they've done it, then to me, I think the jury's out. We had no idea. I never feel like I have any idea where these are going. But I'm not troubled by them maybe taking a little different stance just because maybe they need to shake up some of the way they look at things.
Baseball's draft is the most unpredictable of the drafts. I mean, we're dealing with a combination of college players who have been around for at least 3 years, if they went to a major 4-year school, junior college players, and then high school kids. And there's unlike the NBA where there's 2 rounds, there's 20 this year. So Lynn, what did Dayton Moore, Lonnie Goldberg say about about Frank Mozzicato?
Well, specifically with Frank, they liked the fact that, he had a really good feel for the curveball. They talked a lot about his spin. He's experienced the jump in velocity. They think there's still more in there. You're talking about a guy who, and like we mentioned earlier, he wasn't necessarily projected at that spot. He was getting more buzz, like as that last senior year went on. I actually spoke with the area scout who scouted him the other day, and he was saying that it was by the end of that season, it started to get to be where actually not even by the end, a couple starts in, it was spreading by wildfire, like this guy that everybody's got to see, this left-hander, and he's made this jump from, people knew who he was to now you got to see him and see where he's at now. That being said, I think the thing that stood out that night when we talked to Dayton and Lonnie was just Dayton talking. It really seemed to, at least it surprised me how Dayton was talking about just the longer approach and being more patient. Because when I asked about, a couple years ago, even last year, the college pitchers and, whether it's Asa Lacy or Singer and Bubich and all those guys, and this obviously being different. And Dayton talked about, well, if we're going to have sustained success, we've got to be able to shoot for guys who have bigger upside and can be potential 1s and 2s. And, and then also adding in there that, yeah, we know it might take longer and, we're willing to pay the price for, down the line. And so that was the thing that stood out to me, is to hear him say that after we'd seen what they'd done in recent years with the college guys.
Right. I mean, the whole idea of taking the college guys in 2018 and then 2019 was to be competitive as soon as possible. And this marks a little bit of a different philosophical approach, doesn't it, Sam?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that, I don't know this. I'm reading between the lines on this a lot, but I think there's some John Sherman in here. I think that there's a difference. And look, this isn't a radical departure from what the Royals have been. They did it in, was it 2013? The Dozier-Manaea draft.
Right.
They paid Dozier, they drafted Dozier 8th and paid him 15th slot. They drafted Manaea 30-something and paid him 5th slot. Yep. This is a strategy that other teams have utilized a lot as well. But I'm just listening to what Lonnie's saying and what Dayton's saying, and it just seems like there's a John Sherman influence here about that whole be competitive every year thing. I know everybody says that, the Royals have said that in the past, but their actions have not backed that up. Now I think their actions are backing that up. I see a different sort of philosophical 30,000-foot, sort of philosophy here.
And really, it is interesting to think about how it fits into kind of the broader matrix, right? I mean, that's the whole point. Like, it does it reflect something that's, we allocate this up front, that there. And also, what I do wonder is what it means about what they think has happened with this series of college pitchers. I mean, I don't think you can feel like the eagle has landed there. On the other hand, they must feel some sense of maybe less immediacy about this sort of pick. So I guess I'm a little confused about what the broader message is.
What's the hesitation for drafting a high school pitcher early? What's the advantage and the disadvantage of the high school, the 18-year-old high school senior versus the 21 or 22-year-old college, junior?
Yeah, there's just a lot more space between where they are and the big leagues, and it's harder to project a pitcher because the margins are a lot smaller. Like hitters, if they have the tools, they're not all going to make it, right? Some are going to be Bubba Starling, but like with a pitcher, a pitch right here is a great pitch and it's a strikeout. A pitch right here gets hit 400 feet, and it's just, and you can't, the people that have been in the game a heck of a lot longer than I have, than any of us, will tell you, pitchers can only develop to their level of competition. And, so if, a pitch, again, it's kind of the same thing, but a pitch that gets an out in A ball is going to get hit pretty hard in Double A. That is magnified to Triple A. That's magnified to the big leagues. It's just, plus injuries, all these other things. It's just, there's just a lot of different factors that are going on there.
One thing I think about is over the last 10 years or so, how prevalent kind of year-round baseball is for kids, even in this part of the country, right? So, and we'll talk about, a couple other early round picks that were local by the Royals, but I think I think high school pitchers are more developed now than they've ever been.
That's
just
true.
because there's more opportunity for them to pitch in the off season, especially if you're in a cold weather climate like Mozzicato is. But the other thing is, he didn't, in particular for Mozzicato, didn't pitch the previous year because of COVID, right? Pandemic. So maybe his arm is, it doesn't have 3 years of college, abuse. And some of these colleges really abuse arms, right?
sure.
Pitching guys 150 pitches a game or something. So I look at that as maybe a potential positive.
Yep.
Lynn, where would he start, assuming he signs? Where do you see him starting at the Quad Cities or?
I mean, now with the different level of the minors, the way it's shaken up, I mean, I think he's probably got to start at the lowest level just because, I mean, he just turned 18 last month.
Right.
And he's also a guy, like we were talking about this, just the fact that he hasn't been a year-round guy until I think when we talked to him, until like this past year. And even this past year, it's still not a full year because he didn't have the last spring. And he was talking about, in the Northeast, it's been shut down with COVID and everything, that just he was playing catch in the backyard with his brother, who's a college pitcher, and training was, putting extra books in a backpack and doing stuff like that. I mean, so that's what it was until the fall. Yeah, until the fall, and then he got into a training program and everything. But I mean, so this isn't a guy who's been going full bore all year round. So I think just part of past conversations I've had with Royals is like when you get these new guys in, you got to get them on a routine, get them acclimated to just getting on the schedule. I mean, he hasn't pitched every fifth day. Even a guy like Lacey, that's the first thing you got to do is get them into a routine of being able to pitch on a regular basis, know how they sort of have to get their bodies in tune for that. So I think he's got to start at the lowest level, and he's, like I said, really young, and then work his way up. I'm just not sure how that changes this year. Now that you don't have as many low levels. I mean, I don't know if that means he's at Arizona in the complex for an extended period of time. I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay. One of my favorite websites is, in addition to Baseball Reference, which we all use, right, is the Baseball Cube. You guys ever go to Baseball Cube? I really like it because you can break down the draft, filter it, and break it down. So to Sam's point earlier about high school pitchers, the Royals, when they took a pitcher with their first pick, not necessarily in the first round, but the first selection was a pitcher because there were a couple times they didn't pick until the second round. Whether they made it to the majors or not, Asa Lacey doesn't count because it just hadn't been enough time. Brady Singer made it to the majors, and of course he was a college pitcher. High school pitchers like Ash Russell, not in the majors. Then a bunch of college drafted pitchers made it, right? Brandon Finnegan, Kyle Zimmer, took him a while, of course, Aaron Crow, Luke Hochevar. But before that, the previous pitcher that the Royals took first was Zach Greinke, and it worked out okay.
So I looked this up actually, and I'm going to get the details maybe a little bit wrong, but from 2007 to 2016, so that's 10 drafts, and I'm not going closer than 2016, just with the idea that 5 years you need to project some guys. But in those 10 drafts, there were 19 high school pitchers selected in the top 10. And one of them was Madison Bumgarner. Another one was Zach Wheeler. The other 17 had fewer than 10 WAR. 13 of the 19 had fewer than 1, including 6 or 7 who never made the big leagues or haven't yet. And in college pitchers, everybody's unpredictable, right? Like everybody can bust. But college pitchers, there's Garrett Cole in there. There's Trevor Bauer in there. There's a lot of frontline studs, and those guys, and it makes sense, right? They've had 3 years to project. Steven Strasburg. I mean, there's just a lot more. There's a lot more of those college guys that make it to the big leagues, and that stood out to me. 19 in the top 10 in that 10-year span. Only one of them. Zach Wheeler's a really good pitcher, but Madison Bumgarner is the guy that fulfilled that potential of the team that drafted him. And look, you can go back further. Clayton Kershaw. You mentioned Greinke. Justin Verlander was a high school kid. There's other guys, but the high school pitchers are just really risky. And now all that stuff that you just said though, like the kid just turned 18, super young, fresh arm, athletic. I mean, it makes sense. You know what I mean? You can see
ability
why,
to mold them, right?
Yeah.
The Royals can mold them.
And I think that people are getting really locked in on the 42 for Baseball America, 39 in Pipeline. And that generally is an industry consensus. But I will say with a guy like Mozzicato and a time like this with COVID, those things can be a little outdated. You know, if Mozzicato is coming on fast, you know, maybe it takes Pipeline, Baseball America a little bit to catch up. Also without baseball last year,
Right.
you know, like who's to say if there was baseball last year, maybe he's 12 or whatever, you know?
Right. Okay, let's take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the local high school players that the Royals selected early, and then also why Kansas City Twitter lost its mind during the home run derby last night.
The Kansas City Royals lineup is backed up by the region's strongest team in healthcare, the University of Kansas Health System. We both suit up with one goal in mind: to win. The University of Kansas Health System, official healthcare provider of the Royals.
Hey, it's Blair. We have a special subscription offer for SportsBeat KC listeners: unlimited digital access to the Kansas City Star's award-winning sports coverage. Sign up now for 1 year of Sports Pass for access to all the sports news, features, and columns presented on the kansascity.com site, and it's only $30. That's a 40% savings off our regular rate. Your subscription will automatically renew after the initial term at $50 unless you tell us to cancel. Your subscription helps support the sports coverage of kansascity.com and the Kansas City Star, and that support has never been more important. Please visit kansascity.com/SportsBeatKC offer to get this special offer. And as always, thanks for listening. Okay, so Frank Mozzicato, not the only player drafted by the Royals, believe it or not. Not the only high school pitcher drafted by the Royals early. I know I'm going to botch the name. I apologize to the family, who, based on the location of the high school, lived near me somewhere. Ben Kudrna, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Ben, and to the family, was taken number 43 overall, Blue Valley Southwest prospect, according to MLB.com, number 46 overall. Terrific stats this past year, 9-1 with an 0.99 ERA. Was an LSU commit, and the Royals took him number 43. Let's also bring in Carter Jensen, catcher from Park Hill, 78th overall. So I think those were the second and fourth picks by the Royals, right? Yep. Because
there's the Alabama kid in between.
Right, in between. So it may not be common knowledge, but the Royals have their own kind of developmental program in town for youth baseball, don't they?
Yeah, it's the Royal Scout Team is one of those programs. It's like a grassroots, baseball development. They do tournaments. You'll see them sometimes. I don't think they're always based out of the Urban Youth Academy, but I think they've played out of there sometimes. And so a lot of the local coaches, a lot of the local players have some interaction with the Royals at an early stage and with their scouting department. And both of those players are guys who played on their scout teams in the past, and the Royals scouting department has known them for years, known their families, just seen them sort of grow up in the game.
I think it's cool to draft kids like this. I know that the Braves did this a lot. When Dayton Moore was in Atlanta, that was, Chipper Jones was most famously, right, the Atlanta area kid who the Braves drafted. But that was sort of a Braves philosophy to. And of course, the amount of talent there is different than here. But I will say that amateur baseball in this area it's terrific. It just is. I mean, teams around here win high school state championships all the time now, and they're sending to the draft and the major league teams. I want to say that the last, and I know I'm probably wrong on this, but remember Jason Adam, the pitcher from Blue Valley North? Yeah. That may have been the last local product that the Royals drafted as high. I think he was a fourth or fifth round kid, and made his major league debut with the Royals before they ended up being traded. So good on the Royals for drafting local, and be really, when those kids speak to the media, and particularly the time and when they've played high school ball, they grew up watching 2014 and 2015 Royals teams. So they've gotten the good times of the Royals. So good for them. And
I'm thinking of when they drafted Aaron Crow, local kid,
Topeka.
Like, what are your Royals memories? And it was like late '90s, early 2000s, and it was just like crickets. It was a lot better now.
Not the case for these two local kids. So congratulations to them. All right, let's. So the All-Star festivities culminate tonight with the All-Star game. Salvador Perez, the starting catcher, is going to catch Shohei Ohtani, right? And Salvi batting 7th in the order. That's about right. I think that's about right for him. I was looking at the order. That seems like a good place for him. And Whit Merrifield on the All-Star team for the second time was a injury replacement. I can't remember who he replaced.
Jose Altuve.
Altuve, right, for the Astros. So Royals, last place in the AL Central, two representatives on the All-Star team. Good deal. In between, let's quickly talk about the Futures game. Bobby Witt Jr., Nick Pratto participated, and if Bobby Witt Jr. led off the game with a ball that was exit velo 113 miles an hour, if it was a foot either way, it would have knocked down the wall instead of the outfielder. So that was kind of encouraging to see his two at bat because both balls pretty hard hit.
It was just fun listening to him mic'd up for that second at bat, and he's talking to the play-by-play announcers as he's in the batter's box, and then as he smokes another ball that gets caught, and he's just, come on, get over his head. And he's rounding back towards the dugout talking about, I gotta get in the weight room. That ball's gotta get out. So it's just, and he's obviously Royals fans have been tracking everything that he does for couple years now, but it was just see him having fun in that that setting was kind of cool.
I bet we see him sometime at Kauffman Stadium sometime in second half of the season after a Omaha trip.
I wouldn't be surprised if that Omaha thing happens very soon.
Right. What time is it?
Exactly. And I think they've wanted. I mean, that's been part of the plan to get him up at some point. I will say this though, somewhat famously in Kansas City, at least, they thought about putting him on the big league roster for a little bit during spring training. The way his season has gone pretty much validates that Double-A was probably the right spot, because he really struggled the first, Lynn, 3 weeks?
Yeah,
4 weeks, whatever.
I think I've said this before, but I'll say it one more time. I mean, it's almost as though 40 games in minor leagues, he wasn't enough.
37.
Wasn't enough to put a guy right in the big leagues. Who would have ever thought of that? And who would have said that and not got shouted down?
But that also, Bobby Witt Jr. sucks up all the energy and deservedly so. But Nick Pratto is a hell of a development for the Royals. There was a time a couple years ago, people, not Lonnie or Scott Sharp or but there were people that were kind of writing him off. That this is just high school bat that they took, 15th, something like that.
It was pretty high, yeah.
Sort of middle of the first round, not going to make it. And he's really come on.
Yeah, if you're projecting Royals starting lineups for 2023, 2024, he's a strong consideration for that.
Yeah, the Santana 2-year deal lines up pretty nice.
Pretty nice, that's right. Yeah. Exactly. So, not every year I'm interested in the home run derby. For obvious reasons, because it's been going on since the 80s, I think. It has to be, because Bo Jackson was in it in 1989, and last night was only the fourth time a Royals player has participated in it. If you had listened to the ESPN broadcast, you would not have known that a Royals player had participated in it. But Salvador Perez was pretty phenomenal in this thing, and hit 28 home runs, the second most in regulation time of the first round. Unfortunately for Salvi, he was aligned against Pete Alonso, who hit 35 home runs, set the home run derby record. So Alonso's amazing, right? He's built for home run derby.
100%.
He's a good hitter otherwise. He hit 53 home runs as a rookie, so maybe he's going to end up with 600 in his career or something. The guy's a freak. But the way he's bobbing and dancing, that was kind of, it was a good show, right?
Yeah.
What wasn't good TV in Kansas City was the Pete Alonso interview that took place throughout the entire Salvador Perez appearance in the batter's box.
So Salvy's, what would have been record-tying performance was B-roll for, the Alonso interview. And folks in Kansas City were having none of that.
No, Kansas City Twitter, not too pleased with that.
I retweeted an ESPN stats and info thing. I can't remember the denotation, but even that got blasted. Like, it was a pretty distinct thing about some sort of record he set. It was like,
for catchers,
too bad your broadcast was so horrible. And every chance, boom. And they didn't even like the makeup interview. They didn't even enjoy that. They thought it was just
that's right. Salvador Perez did get his 5 minutes of ESPN chuckles, but
yeah, and even like Joel Goldberg, I think like in the middle of it tweeted like, "Hey guys, like go to the Statcast broadcast on ESPN2 or whatever. They're giving Salvi all this love. Just screw that, like it's just like
the deed is done.
It checks so many boxes, right? Because there's not a lot. I mean, there's one, and he plays quarterback at least, but there's not a lot of athletes around here that are more loved by Kansas City, and disrespecting us on a national stage.
And the fact that
get Kansas City hot.
Well, the fact that they did it for a New York guy too. As soon as I saw that, I was like, there's no way people aren't going to feel some type of way about that. You just pushed them aside for the New York guys. That ain't going to go well.
As I recall, the last time the Royals' emotions were so stoked during an All-Star home run derby also involved the New York players.
Sure did.
and man, we get upset about our home run derby slice, don't we?
That was incredible. That was an amazing
Of course,
night.
we're talking about Robinson Cano in 2012. Somebody tweeted the graphic of it was 8 players in the home run derby then. The whole thing was structured differently. And it wasn't a face-off, right, or a bracket. It was just all 8 players and whoever had the most advanced. And so they listed the totals of everybody in the first round. I forgot whoever advanced had 11, right? And then they went, basically 1 through 8. And in 8th place was Robinson Cano with no home runs because he was booed loudly every time he came up to plate. And we're talking all around it. The reason he was booed as lustily as he was because he mentioned he was going to put Billy Butler on the team, on the lineup, and he didn't do it. And that just drove Kansas City fans nuts.
That was the best part, too, because, like, Billy, it's not like he was a snub for the home run derby.
Right. We had to have Billy Butler on the team.
God, that was great. One other thing about Sal last night is everybody talks about, like, home run derby screwing up your swing. He was swinging. That was the same swing he takes 0-2.
He was hitting home runs to right field, too, I noticed.
That was just the exact same swing. I was kind of worried that, like, he's probably going to get balls down the middle, Like, that
no
might be his problem, but,
foul him back.
He showed he can handle those pitches, too. It was good to see.
It was fun to watch him, and I didn't realize this until, I think it was Jason Stark pointed out on Twitter that 10 of the last 12 pitches that he saw he hit out.
Yeah.
So it was quite a display by Sal.
It really was.
It was amazing. The previous Royals high for a home run derby total was 10 by Moustakas a couple of years ago. So look,
that reminds me, just real quick, what happened to your guy Bo with 1? What was the deal on the
Hey man, he was saving it up for the actual game. Let off.
Lead off.
And he did. Yeah.
Rick Russell was pitching. Threw him that 82-mile-an-hour fastball.
Yeah, 3 inches off the plate. That was 3 inches too many.
Got the MVP for that
That's
swat.
right. Stole a base later in the game.
Do you really know the details of the 1999 All-Star game?
I'm sorry, I do. I was 11. What do you want from me?
Okay, so tonight the All-Star game with Salvador Perez hitting 7th. I'm sorry. The Royals resume the season and all the baseball on Friday. A lot of home games coming up over the next couple weeks. I think 10 of the next 12 are at home. There's a 2-game trip to Milwaukee tucked in there. What do the Royals do with the rotation here, though? This is the time to reset the rotation. It's pretty much the same cast of characters, but maybe different order.
Probably. They hadn't, I was going to say they hadn't determined. If they had determined, they hadn't let us in on it as of the end of the first half. And they didn't play that game on Sunday. They got rained out. So basically everybody's in play, but they just haven't said for sure what they're going to do with that. It'll be interesting when you get to that second half, if we start seeing some of those guys come back, some of the young guys, because you still, I think we talked about whether it was last week or the week before, that you still have to find out about them. And it's not to say that you're going to, determine who's in the rotation next year based off of the end of the season, but you still have to see some of those guys, and they have to get over some of the stuff that they went through earlier in the year, because if they're going to be in the rotation next year, the last experience can't be, going 2 innings over 2 starts like that, I think you're going to have to see some of that, and they're going to have to, make some of those strides in the big leagues late in the season. And I mean, this is just me thinking out loud, but I would think I'd like to see some of that before we get to September, when your rosters expand and there's a lot of 4A and 3A type things going on. So it'd be interesting to see how they handle it.
I like that. I think that's a really great way to look at it. I hope it's something, some advice they follow.
I don't think they're taking my advice, but hey, I'm glad somebody liked it.
The whole thing, this deserves a sigh right now, just a deep sigh. But there's been so many years, and I didn't think this would be another one, but there's been so many years that it's just, by this time of year, it's going to be a losing season, but the goal becomes to not make it a lost season. Here we are. And it's not, that's probably the most important part. Witt will be up at some point, I assume. But there's just a lot of things that they need to see. I'd like to see Olivares get some regular time, just to see, is he a 4A guy, like a lot of scouts think, or can
he be next year's left fielder?
Or a fourth outfielder? Whatever. There's a lot of stuff like that they need to get taken care of.
Okay. Well, we'll spend more time next week talking about the second half of the season, and it occurred to me when Sam was remembering his 11-year-old watching of the All-Star game, that I remember my 11-year-old watching of the All-Star game. It was in Detroit. Roberto Clemente hit a solo home run, his only All-Star game home run late in the game, to make it a 6-4 loss by the National League.
And you're making fun of me for remembering Bo stole a base?
So we'll get to Vahe and Lynn's 11-year-old All-Star game watching experience next week. But thanks to the University of Kansas Health System, thanks to you all, thanks to Bob and Bill and others who wrote in, thanks to Beth Welsh, our producer, and especially to these guys, Sam, Vahe, and Lynn. We'll talk to you again next Tuesday. That'll do it for today. Thanks to our SportsBeat KC production staff of Derek Donovan, Beth Welsh, Monty Davis, Jeff Rosen, Chris Fickett, and Savannah Smith. Tip of the cap to Lynn Worthy, Sam Mellinger, and Vahe Gregorian for stopping by and talking Royals. Links to their stories can be found in the show notes and on kansascity.com. Hey, we've got another deal for you. You can subscribe to Sports Pass for 99 cents a month. That's right, 99 pennies a month. Sports Pass is the online version of the Star Sports section. You get all the stories that appear in the print editions of the Star, plus additional stories that appear only on the website, and of course they appear first on kansascity.com. After 3 months, it auto-renews at $5.99 a month unless you cancel. It's a great time to subscribe. Read about what's going on with the Chiefs, the Royals, the colleges, our soccer teams, a whole lot of soccer going on, and much more. How do you get it? You go to kansascity.com/sportspass2020. That is kansascity.com/sportspass2020. You want more than just sports coverage? Check out the entire Kansas City Star product. Sports, news, features, commentary, and analysis, the whole thing. You get all the stories written by my talented colleagues, plus additional national news, sports, and business coverage with the e-edition. The details for all of these deals can be found at account.kansascity.com/subscribe. And if you're having trouble hunting down any of the offers, you just send me an email, bkirkhoff@kcstar.com, and I will get you to the right place. So whether it's the Sports Pass or the full subscription, you're getting and supporting the best sports and news coverage in Kansas City and helping us produce programs like SportsBeat KC. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back on Wednesday with another episode.